Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another great episode of the Great Debaters Contest. We've touched down in Nakuru region, and I am your host, Austin Nyombok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. We have Anestar Precious girls going versus Baringo High School, and they're discussing whether poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rates. We'll let the debaters, who are the experts in this matter, take the floor now. Proposer number one, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Felix Mccullough from Baringo School. I stand here to strongly propose the motion that states poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. But I'm surprised. On to my right side, I'm seeing beautiful ladies. But they'll at some point be women and they'll have children. And they strongly sit here trying to oppose the motion that will adversely at one point affect the people around them. You'll have infants, right? Suffering sets in when we start ignoring things that we know. And who we like to associate with those who suffer. So I think we should just be hearing fluttering sounds of some footsteps. We should dash out of this room because nobody would like to associate with those who will suffer at some time. What is poor nutrition? Poor nutrition is the adequate supply of a diet that does not meet the dietary needs of the body. What is mortality? Mortality is the death of children. More so children under the age of 1 year old. First, I'll talk about inflation. Currently, we're experiencing something great in Kenya. It's not great that it is good. It is something that is affecting our lives. Do you know it? In 2013, how much did 500 milliliters of packet of milk cost? What about now? What about who is sitting there? Those who are not in school. How much did it cost you to buy 1 packet of milk? And what do you think about those people who can't afford to buy the packet of milk? Yeah, this packet of milk supplies the most required nutrients that infants need daily for them to have that good health. Why? Ask yourself that. We also have families whereby children are many. Children are tampering everywhere. They set in competition. There's that competition for food. And if there's poverty, who will acquire this food? And food is whatever we need for that right type of nutrients. Who will acquire the food? Or even if the food is there, will all of them get it? So, to say inflation leads to poor nutrition, according to the points that I've just given you. On to my second point. We have poor feeding practices. Most of our mothers outside here don't observe feeding practices. You find most of them taking some type of stones. Yeah? They have calcium whatsoever. So what about the child? If you don't observe that good balance, you don't balance the food that you take, then what will the baby acquire from the womb? What about those mothers who take cigarettes, who smoke cigarettes, and involve themselves in drug and substance abuse? How? How will the baby acquire those nutrients? So, surely, ladies, can you just kindly stand up and come and help me propose this motion strongly? Thank you.
Okay, ladies, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
You see, they say debate is like an argument, and an argument is like a miniskirt. Short enough to attract your attention, but long enough to cover the essentials. Call me Joyce Mwangi from the great Anestar Precious Girls High School, here to strongly oppose the motion that states poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rates. You see, people have different opinions. People have different sayings, but let's call a spade, and definitely not a big spoon. Nutrition is the process by which living things acquire and utilize nutrients. An infant is a child between the age of 0 to 1 year, while mortality rate is the number of deaths per 1,000 child. While a research done by Ipsos Synovate in the western parts of Kenya showed that these areas include Kisumu, Homa Bay, Siaya, and other counties. It showed that most of the infants in that part die due to HIV and AIDS. Another research, also conducted by a team of pediatricians led by Dr. Robert Kioko, showed that 64% of infants die due to other diseases. For example, malaria, which is currently affecting a higher percentage of infants. Example, here in Kenya, places like Korogosho. And guess what? Only, and I repeat, only 36% of those infants are affected by poor nutrition. So this clearly shows, let's reason. 64% for other diseases. Well, only 36% for poor nutrition. It beats human logic. 36 versus 64, no match. So, I stand here firmly and oppose poor nutrition. It is just a case, but cannot be the leading case of high infant mortality rates. I came, I saw, and I conquered. And I'm stating this because I know my voice is the voice of truth, and my voice is no noise.
Thank you. We'll hear rebuttals now, beginning with Baringo High School. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, gratitude. I'm Timothy Muyendi, Baringo High School. And I stand here strongly to propose the motion that states poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. First of all, I'd like to correct my opposers for their wrong statistics. It's not 36% of infants who die due to poor nutrition. That's Kenyan statistics. We are speaking of the globe, that is the world in general. In the world, 45% of the infants die due to poor nutrition. And as we all know, poor nutrition in infants causes a number of diseases. You all know of deficiency-caused diseases. For example, we have marasmus, we have kwashiorkor, and many other diseases caused due to lack of specific nutrients. Now, when we speak of the child's vulnerability to the disease, we speak also of the mother. In many parts of the world, when we speak of, in Africa, we have the sub-Saharan Africa, and we have South Asia and Indian countries, where food is not, actually many parents don't get enough food for their kids. And when we say that an infant or a child under 1 year of age almost totally depends on his or her mother for nutrition. A mother is supposed to breastfeed his or her child for 6 months. That is what is recommended by most doctors globally. And when these mothers don't get enough food, obviously the infants will die due to poor nutrition. Okay, when you come to developing and developed countries, statistics by the World Health Organization show that most infants who die are from developing countries compared to the developed countries. Why? This is because of state of infrastructure and technology. We see that many non-governmental organizations, for example, the Red Cross, try hard enough to provide food to places where food cannot, or where people lack food. For example, we have the north parts of Kenya, e.g. the Turkana and West Pokot or East Pokot. And then, due to this poor nutrition, infants are dying, and they're not dying at any low rate. And globally, it will be almost impossible for me to believe that poor nutrition is not the leading cause. Now let's come to development. I want to give a piece of advice to our government, or actually the whole governments of the African continent. And my advice is, if we are to develop, if we have to see our projects develop, we have to look into nutrition. I rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, opposition will hear your rebuttal as well. You have 3 minutes.
Making simple, hard to understand, happens all the time. but making hard simple to understand very simple. Well, that's the work of a truly wise person. Diana Mugo is the name, Anestar Precious is the school. Here to strongly oppose the motion that states poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. Well, one of my opponents mentioned something to do with milk, saying that these children need milk from the mother. How many mothers die after giving birth to their children? Yet these children still survive, even without breastfeeding from their mothers. And you're talking to me about breast milk? Again, he mentioned cigarettes. Well, the effect that cigarettes have is that these children are born with respiratory problems, which have got nothing to do with nutrition again. And also, let us try and consider the first class, there is the first class, second class, and third class families. Let us remember and also consider the third class families. Third class families, well, the economy of Kenya is very high. These people are not struggling to get nutrients, but to survive, and they are surviving even without those nutrients. Well, a living dog is better than a dead lion. Some children, that is of the first class family, are dying due to excess nutrition. Now tell me, would you rather have your child die due to excess nutrition, or would you rather have your child live even with poor nutrition? Well, maybe, just maybe, poor nutrition causes infant mortality death. But it is definitely not the leading cause to high infant mortality rate. Ladies and gentlemen, they are saying that poor nutrition is the leading cause to high infant mortality rate. Sounds good, right? But hey, a lie is a lie. No matter how good it sounds, it's still a lie. And I better smack you with the truth than kiss you with a lie. My dear, handsome, worthy opponents, well, I have to say this. Your boat is sinking, and I don't want you to sink with it. So please, sail in ours, and let us oppose the motion that states that poor nutrition is the leading cause to high infant mortality rate. Thank you.
Thank you to the audience. The proposers have been asked to explain how infrastructure and technology tie in with our motion today. And the opposition have been asked how excessive nutrition could cause the death of an infant. We'll have them respond now. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
When a solitary mind is disturbed, it's not enough to judge that the whole state is mad. I'm Danton Wande from Baringo High School. I'm here to give a controversial confirmation of what is a reality, which is the motion of today. Poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. Listen out. Let's talk of drought and chronic famine that it carries along. Look behind me. Right behind me lies a county called East Pokot. East Pokot is a county that I'll take it as the best example of drought here in Kenya. People are dying. People are starving of hunger. But out of the people who are starving of hunger are also children. Between children and their mothers, who has got high affinity of surviving hunger. So you are going to find out that the child has high chances of dying of hunger. Let's not talk about Kenya. Because the way you're expressing yourself shows that you are deep in darkness of knowing actually what is happening in the world. But I'll give you a favor. Let me take you out of Kenya. Let's go to sub-Saharan Africa. Countries like Nigeria, suffering of high infant mortality rate caused by poor nutrition. One of you gave us statistics that 45% of infant mortality rate is caused by poor nutrition. That is very true. So that means the remaining percentage is divided among all other causes in the world. Go to South Asia. South Asia, one of the most populated places in the world. It is also dry. There is no water. There is no food. These are the essentials of life. That's why poor nutrition remains to be the leading cause of infant mortality rate. If you ever want to bring an end to something, you have to believe in it. This is what is happening right now. Science is, together with me, together with everyone is looking at you here, except a few which are coming along with me in a few minutes. They are looking forward to bringing an end or to minimize poor nutrition as the leading cause of infant mortality rate. You want to bring an end to this? Come behind me. Believe that poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. Because as we talk, we are looking for solutions to minimize it down. We have the United Nations Organization is providing food for refugees, is providing food for people, is providing food for those who need it. Thank you.
Anestar Precious, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
See, there's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. It's called humility. Confidence smiles and arrogance smirks. Representing the Anestar Precious girls, I go by the name Bridget Muramba. I'll go ahead to answer the question from the audience who asked, how does excess nutrition cause deaths in infants? Let me make this clear to you first. Excessive nutrition in infants is called malnutrition. And what is malnutrition? Malnutrition is a condition where the nutrients required by an infant are either lacking or in wrong proportions. So, excessive nutrition causes obesity in infants. We all know that infants have very delicate organs which cannot withstand high amounts of fat inside the body. Hence, this fat compresses the heart, and with time, the infant fails even to get to the age of 5 years and succumbs to death, which leads to a high infant mortality rate. I hope I've made it clear and I've answered your question. I will go ahead to strongly oppose this motion that states that poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. Let me make this clear to you. According to a research done in the daily newspaper on 10th May, Wednesday, 2017, it was stated that poor nutrition accounts for 45% of infant deaths in Kenya, which leaves 55% to other causes, which tells us what? That even though these causes are divided in the 55%, this still does not leave room for poor nutrition to be the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. Let's look at culture in places like Ghana. When you talk of Ghana, their culture does not allow a mother with a newly born baby to go outside anyhow. They are usually confined inside their houses until the child reaches a certain age. That's when they go outside. This causes the infant to succumb to death because apart from nutrition, the infant needs sunlight. The infant needs to connect with other people in order to grow. We need these infants who will also be the leaders in the next generation. Look at war. There are countries that are war-stricken. Take an example of Somalia. Somalia is war-stricken. Do we also say that poor nutrition is the leading cause of infant deaths in those areas where mothers will not even be able to go to hospitals to deliver their children safely? These children are not delivered safely. The mothers do not even know how to go about taking care of their children. Hence, the children succumb to death. Now, you see, Education and life expectancy are the leading indicators of high infant mortality rate in the world, as shown by Ipsos Synovate 2017. Now, this voice is a dissenting voice, and it's definitely a voice of reason. And if it is noise, then it is a necessary noise. Thank you.
Okay, we'll hear final submissions. Gentlemen, you have a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, pretenders are worse than murderers. This I say because there are some very beautiful ladies sitting on my right. They are here because they were very well fed. Their parents took care of them. An example is my mother here. He took care well of her children. That's why you are here today telling us that poor nutrition is not the leading cause of death. Would you be alive if you didn't take milk, you didn't take food for at least 3 months? I'm here because I believe that was properly fed, and that's why I'm talking to you to tell you that poor nutrition is the leading cause of death, and there is a solution for it. To answer the question asked by my fellow honorable about infrastructure, infrastructure covers roads. Let's talk about roads. Let's talk about infrastructure such as buildings and hospitals. This infrastructure covers the government and non-governmental organizations that actually supplies marginal areas with food, nutritious foods such as plant peanuts. That is evident in Kenya. Thank you.
Opposition, you also have a minute.
From a philosophical point of view, a good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. But when you add to that a literate pen or tongue, then you have something very special. For the Anestar Precious Girls High School, once again, Bridget Muramba. I'm here to bring my final remarks about the motion that states poor nutrition is the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. Well, it is true from my worthy opponents that poor nutrition is a cause of high infant mortality rate, but it is only a tip of the iceberg and not the leading cause of high infant mortality rate. Well said that pretenders are worse than murderers, but let me bring it to your attention that it takes one to know one. With reference to religion, I will also state Proverbs 22 verse 3. A wise man sees danger and runs from it, but a fool sees danger and goes ahead to suffer for it. Somebody give me an amen. Somebody give me a hallelujah. If poor nutrition is a cause of high infant mortality rate, then why do you go ahead to suffer for it? It is very clear that your boat is sinking. So join us. Oppose this motion. We are not pretending. We are being realistic. And this world belongs to the realistic. Thank you.
Felix, you're quite confident, clear speech, eloquent. Timothy, same thing. You are using clear language. Your statistics from WHO are very good. Danton, save for a few grammatical hitches, your speech is quite good. We say, starving of hunger. You're starving. People which are, people who are. So that kind of clouded your points so that they weren't very clear.
Anestar Precious Girls, you did good. One of you stood out to be the best in the three of you in the team, that is Bridget. I like the way you are a calm debater. Citations were there, good examples. You even went ahead and gave us more causes of infant mortality. That was good conviction, though you really need to observe time. Thank you.
Numbers now. Baringo High School. The judges awarded you 64%. Kindly give them a round of applause. Your opponents, Anestar Girls, had 69%, making them the winners of this debate.
Congratulations to the two teams on stage. We'd like to thank our active audience for being so wonderful and very participative, and also our viewers back home for tuning in, and urge you to continue the conversation on social media at Great Debaters EA, and stay tuned. I am Austin Nyambok.
I am Mariam Bishar. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.